Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Learn Smart Coding. In this video, I'm going to cover introduction to Angular and other languages like TypeScript that we use for the Angular. We also see why we chose Angular. So Angular is a framework for building both small and large web applications. With Angular, you can build a simple, small website in a few hours or build rich, full-featured enterprise-level product management and inventory applications. Angular is a JavaScript framework for building client-side applications. These are the applications that run entirely in the user's browser. We use techniques we already know, including HTML and CSS, to build the user interface. And we write our code in Typescript, which is an enhanced version of a JavaScript. So why Angular? Why not some other JavaScript framework? Well, there are a lot of other JavaScript frameworks out there. However, Angular makes our HTML more expressive. We can embed features such as if conditions, for loops, and local variables directly into our HTML. Angular has powerful data binding and lets us connect data directly to our UI. Angular promotes modularity. We build our application as a set of building blocks, making it easier to create and reuse content. And Angular has inbuilt support for communication with the backend server. This makes it easy for a web application to get and post data or execute server-side business logic. This is a beginner level course or a tutorial, I would say. However, this course assumes you have some basic knowledge of JavaScript for code, HTML for building a user interface, and cascading style sheet, or it is also called as CSS for styling. You do not need to have any prior knowledge of Angular or TypeScript. I will cover what you need in this course. If you have a working knowledge of each of these, that will help you learn this course faster. So what's next? Let's learn about TypeScript. Let's look at what is TypeScript. So TypeScript is a programming language that I will be using it for the Angular. In other words, TypeScript is the official programming language for Angular. So what is TypeScript? TypeScript is JavaScript with syntax of types. TypeScript is a strongly typed programming language that builds on JavaScript, giving you a better tooling at any scale. So there are official documentation of TypeScript, so I'm going to read about that. TypeScript adds additional syntax to JavaScript to support a tighter integration with your editor. It will catch errors earlier in your editor itself. TypeScript code converts to JavaScript, which runs anywhere on the browser. TypeScript understands JavaScript and uses type inference to give you great tooling without additional code. I'll give you all those in the description. So what is JavaScript? JavaScript is a language of the web. JavaScript is the language for the web and is executed by all browsers. The JavaScript language specification standard is officially called ECMAScript or ES. Most modern browsers supports ES5, which is ES 2015, which is the renamed of ES6 specification. It introduced many new features such as classes, arrow functions, and etc. So this is our sample application that we created in the previous demo. So if you see, these are the files by default created using the default template by the Angular. So if you go through all these things, there are important files that you should need to know before we get started. The first one is the packages. The package.json is the file which will contain all the packages that are required for us to execute, or I would say to run this application. If you look at this dependency section, these are the Angular packages that is used, and if you see this rxjx is the other packages that is used. So these are the default packages that we use for this application. Dev dependency sections are nothing but the packages that is required for our dev environment to work. This is only for our dev environment. That's why it's dev dependency. And in this, if you see, it is all specified with the Angular CLI, which CLI version we are using, what node type we are using, and then what testing we are using. Now the next one is the angular.json file. So this is the file where each section defines how our application has to be built, how our Angular compiler will use these information and build our application. For now, you don't need to know each section, but just for understanding, you should know what is this angular.json. Okay, and one more thing in Angular.json that you should know is, if you look at the architect section where you have styles and scripts, if you specify any styles and scripts here, they will be used in the build process and they will be rendered in the build application. Okay, so anything that is global that we can specify here, which you will see in the demo. Now coming back to the next file, is the important file is the HTML index.html. So this is the index.html is the page that loads when we start the application. And if you see, this is one of the root component. We'll talk about the component in the next clip, but this is the root component, and this translates into the component that will be rendered here. Now the next important thing that we should know is the app.module. Module is nothing but, so each and every single Angular application will by default have at least one ng module. So ng module in Angular, these ng modules are called nothing but the Angular modules. So they are a little different because you import them from Angular and then you use them as a decorator on a class. We define a class called app module, and then we use the decorator to tell this module where it is going to get its import from. Because eventually we are going to run this on the browser, we will import a browser module. That is what you're seeing in the top, which Angular provides to us. We will learn more about these modules in the upcoming demos, but for now you can see a couple of things where we specify where to pull the information. So the declaration section is the one which will hold all the component information. Imports are the other modules where we will specify here, for example browser module. And then we will talk about providers and in the later section, and bootstrap. And if you see the bootstrap section, there is a default component created called app component. So app component is the one that will get bootstrapped here. So don't worry about the components, we'll talk in the next clip. And app component is here. We will have a component, we will have an HTML and CSS file here, and whatever you specify in this file is what is rendered in the application. In the next clip, we will see how to create the component and how to change the styles of a default template. Thanks for watching. If you like my video, don't forget to subscribe my channel, like it, share it, comment it, and never forget to click on the bell icon.